All right. Well, I just got back from 2 weeks of deep, intense breathwork training. Today's my first day back. We literally just finished this morning. So I'm happy we're able to switch the dates because yesterday was like really intense last day. Yeah, I'm actually quite in flow because of all the breath work that I've done, which is kind of a happy bonus. And I taught somebody a 3-beat weave this morning for the very first time, and he was super stoked to unlock it. So it's really good. The medicine's really moving through me right now. So while I was away, I was trying to think about what was really my curiosity, and I kind of went back to the very first thing that I was curious about. In I think one of my first introductions, I mentioned that I was really interested in creativity and how flow affected creativity, because I had been on a journey. I guess I'll just go to the next slide here. Let me just make sure I can. Okay, here we go. So my flow journey kind of, as many of you guys know, I started doing it last summer, and I started to also notice as I was flowing, as I was starting to practice and unlock the moves and kind of get into a zone of putting some music on and practicing and drilling, that I would just get these little bursts of insight, and then I'd have to stop, write something down, and then go back to my flow practice, and then I get more bursts of insight, and then I'm like, I was just wondering what was happening, and I would actually start to use that as a bit of a priming for when I was doing some writing work. And I'm still in the process of doing a big writing project, writing a book. And I thought, wow, what a really interesting thing that's happening, that I'm actually like that. Anyways, that was a picture of me and my flow journey. Some recent photographs that were done. And then, yeah, my hypothesis is, can flow arts prime the brain for creativity? And so I started looking at some studies, and one study I found was about jazz improv, and basically it looked at the parts of the brain that were being activated and not activated during improvisation. And they found what we learned in class, the transient hypofrontality hypothesis, and that parts of the frontal cortex were being turned off, and then other parts are being turned on. So the parts that are being turned on are actually linked to storytelling and meaning making, which I believe is really what creativity is all about, is making meaning from our environment, taking some of the elements that are coming into our field of view and then repurposing those into something new. All right, so looking at some brainwave patterns, this is again review, looking at where flow lives, and that's at the alpha theta border. And some of the things I've uncovered is that it actually allows for that, in that state, allows for more novel ideas to come through. And that's also where the creative insights live, is in that theta border. And then I also found another study that showed that there was a spike in creativity for a number of days actually after flow states. So that you could actually just prime your brain for flow and then allow that to work for you for, a couple of days, which is really awesome. And then I looked at meditation and creativity, because again, just learning about different ways that we've been able to tap into creativity. They found that Buddhist monks have been in that gamma range, and that also actually helps with some of the initial stages of problem solving. And I'll also mention that creativity is a huge field in neuroscience, and there's actually a lot of different ways to look at it, everything from just solving simple problems to like full-on artistic expression. So I tried to capture as much as I could and sort of do an overview of what was out there in the field. But I believe that flow arts is an active form of meditation. So I really wanted to like tie in that meditation piece as well, because I know that when I was flowing, I would like actually just start with a 3-beat weave and do 3-beat weave for 5 minutes straight, and just like, and see how that would affect my brain. And then just getting into that fluid motion without having to think too much about changing anything actually helped me activate that creativity feeling the most. All right, so then moving into some of the neurochemistry, again, this is all review, but just just looking at the fact that flow states increase all of these feel good and performance enhancing states in us. And that actually also helps us piece together some of the things that our brains need to do to become creative, which is the pattern recognition, looking at how we can link together ideas. And yeah, so I found that there's actually quite a bit of evidence linking flow to creativity on the neurochemical level as well. And that you actually need to be excreting these neurochemicals and neurotransmitters in order to get into a creative state. All right, moving on. So I looked at embodiment and creativity as well, because I wanted to know whether or not the body played a role, not just flow state, because a lot of the research that I just mentioned just kind of generally touched on flow state, but didn't really explain what kind of flow state that was. And I know that a lot of us have already kind of felt it, like, you know, you go for a bike ride and ideas start coming to you, or go for a swim or a run, or even a drive. And I figured, like, why not flow arts as well? Why not have that also be a way to prime the body for flow? So I found another study that looked at the relationship of somatic awareness to creative process. And this was a study done, a woman, she asked her participants in the study, who I think were mostly women, and she asked them to do a daily practice. I'm not sure if it specified like how much of this, but it included things like conscious breathing, walking meditations, authentic movement, body-mind centering, Feldenkrais, awareness through movement, yoga, and theater games. And she did report that people had heightened states of awareness, self-knowledge, power, energy, and receptivity. And then her conclusion was that this awareness of our body, the somatic awareness, did enhance creativity, which is really interesting. And another study found that dancers use their bodies to basically think, and that there's ways that we can access our creativity by actually doing certain types of movements, and creating new movements of the body kind of informed our minds, which is another really cool finding. And then I kind of dug in a little bit deeper to look at that movement aspect. I found another study that looked at walking. And this was actually quite interesting that, and this is, again, it's not really news, because it's been done since like the days of Aristotle, when like philosophers used to walk and try and come up with new ideas and concepts. But this study looked at people walking outside of a box versus people trying to do the same tasks while sitting. And they actually found that when you walk, you come up with better solutions for the problems that they gave them. And another really interesting fact of this study was that you could even imagine yourself walking in a virtual reality setting, and it still had the same benefits of coming up with original ideas. So that also suggests that you could actually just visualize the movement patterns, and that could be enough to prime your brain for creativity. So another really interesting way that like our minds and our bodies are so linked together that we can even trick our own minds into thinking that we're moving. All right, and then moving on from that, this last study that I wanted to mention was quite interesting, because it was the closest study that I found that was actually linked to flow art style movements. And this study was fairly recent, 2012. And what they did was, and I have no idea why they even came up with this hypothesis, to be honest. Like, it links so well with what we're doing, but I honestly had like, okay, cool. I don't know why this person was so interested in this, but they had participants trace two different drawings, and you can see on the right here, one was smooth, basically flow art style movements, and then the other one was jagged. And across 3 experiments, they found that the fluid arm movements enhance creativity in 3 areas: creative generation of thoughts, cognitive flexibility and remote associations, which I can't remember exactly what remote associations means, but I believe it has to do with connecting ideas. And they also reported that people had better mood and motivation by doing the fluid arm movements. And so, yeah, it just suggests that doing these kinds of nonlinear patterns actually can influence cognitive processing, and can allow you to be primed to be a better thinker and better creator. So yeah, I found that quite interesting. And my last slide here is just a picture of me doing some flow arts on the beach in Tofino, on the island. And it, the reason I really I feel so connected to this work and to this practice is that I've noticed that the energy that I'm putting into it, well, it's that saying, energy flows where attention goes. And I'm noticing that as I continue to develop my practice, I'm noticing that I'm able to concentrate better on my goals to create. And I know that creating things takes a lot of energy. You have to really put some focused effort into it. But I'm noticing that the flow arts actually helps to allow my energy to funnel into one place. And when I'm creating, I can stay more on task, and I can stay in that flow state for longer as well. And it just feels like a hack. It feels like I could actually get into this state without having to try too hard. And I'm looking forward to actually testing out my own hypothesis even more when I continue to write the book. Actually, my goal is to start up again because I just finished my training, and now I can kind of get back into it. So I'm going to be doing about 20 minutes of flow arts before I start writing, and I'm going to see how that affects my overall, feeling of ideas flowing through me. So yeah, we'll see how that all works. And I am actually really happy that I found all of this evidence that it actually could very well allow us to tap into our creativity more easily. And that's it. Thank you.